Hello, folks, and very good evening. Welcome to another live stream here on the Geeky Ants YouTube channel. Uh, you might have seen me in a different setting before, but I'm in a different setting today, so pardon me for that. I am obviously your host, Digvijay Manchu, for the evening. And today we are going to be talking about something that's extremely important, especially in the app development world. Uh, we do all develop apps, but of course we need to put them on the store, and uploading our apps on the store can be a hassle. Obviously, sometimes a lot of restrictions that may come with it. But today we're going to be talking about automating this entire process and making it very much simpler than it usually is. And for that, we have a special guest today who will be from the Geekians family, who will be talking about how you can automate the testing and the distribution of your apps and make it easier to upload them on the store. Before we officially begin, obviously a big thank you to all of our viewers on YouTube who have joined us right now. Of course, we hope that you will learn something new from this interaction. And a couple of rules during the presentation. Of course, if you have any kind of questions, make sure you leave them on the live chat, and post the presentation, we would obviously be getting them answered for you. So keeping that in mind, we hope that you learn a lot today, and I think it's time I invite my guest on the live stream. Please welcome Tanmay. Tanmay
Hello
is here.
everyone.
Hi, Tanmay. Very.
Hi Digvijay.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Great. Thanks so much. Wonderful. So we are under the impression that Tanmay, you'd be making lives a lot easier today by telling us how we can automate testing and especially distribution of all the apps that we make on the various stores across
Right.
devices, which is great.
Right. Well,
And we are looking forward to listening to you. Of course, it's important to mention that Tanmay is a Flutter enthusiast and he loves to work with the technology. And today, whatever he's going to be talking about will be in context of Flutter apps uh, with a special twist. So, on that note, Tanmay, I would like to leave the stage to you and take it away. All the best.
thank you, Digvijay. Hello everyone. So today in this session we'll be talking about the Flutter automation using GitHub Action. So just give you a little context, like what happened every so we have always been into this situation where we are working on a project and then we have to continuously give build to the QA team or the client so that they can check and validate. So in this process we have to give much of a time in building the application and then sending it to the client or the QA team itself. So to make that ease, we have integrated GitHub Action with Flutter so that it deploys the application, it builds and deploys the application to the Firebase app distribution and also to the GitHub release for safeguarding the assets. So today we'll look into that. So a little introduction. GitHub Action makes it easy to automate testing, building, and deployment of the application using CI/CD directly from the GitHub repository. So if we upload our project into GitHub, we can easily implement the workflow using GitHub Action. So in this session, we'll be looking forward to implementing GitHub workflow to our Flutter project, which will analyze, test, build, and deploy the app to the Firebase console and also to the Firebase GitHub release. So this is the timeline. So here what we'll be doing is we'll create a simple application and integrate that with Firebase, publish it to GitHub, and then once it is done, we will add GitHub workflow to make the APK file and build the APK and upload it to the Firebase app distribution. And then what we'll be doing is we'll be adding it to we'll be creating an IPA file and then uploading it to the GitHub release. So the first thing first, we'll create a sample application using Flutter create sample app, and we will integrate the Firebase with our project. So let's do that. So to make our work easier, I have already integrated Firebase with our project. So you can see that we have created a repository or a project GA and here we have project settings. Here you can see that I have added Android app as well as the iOS application. To do this, you can simply follow the steps given in this SDK integration process, and you can do that. So let's see it in our code. So here you can see that in the iOS folder, in the runner folder, we have added the Google Service info plist, and as well as in the Android folder, we have added the Google Service JSON, right? So this is done successfully. Now we'll be setting up the app distribution in Firebase. So to do that, we have to go to Firebase. We have to select app distribution from the release and monitor, and then we have to just start distribution using Firebase. So here we can either add manually by dragging and dropping the APK or the AAB file, or else also if we want for iOS, we can add the IPA file to the Firebase. So there is an issue with the GitHub action where we can only use Ubuntu to upload the to APK file to Firebase, so it doesn't allow us to use macros. So we'll not be uploading the IPA file here. Instead, we'll be uploading the IPA file to the GitHub release. Okay, and then we will publish the application to GitHub, and we will start the process of GitHub action. So here you can see that I have already uploaded this project to GitHub, and yeah, so this is the simple stuff. Yeah. So let's go to the where we'll be adding the GitHub action. So to do that, first we have to see in our project whether we have a .github folder already added while uploading it to the GitHub or not. So if it is not there, we will be adding a folder, and the name of the folder will be .github. And in that folder, we will create another folder which will be named as workflows inside that GitHub folder. Okay, and then we will create a simple YAML file. We can name it anything. For my ease, I have created a main.yaml file inside the work folder. So this is the structure. I have the .github folder. Inside that I have workflows, and inside that I have the main.yaml. Okay, now we will start the coding. So the first is to define when the action will start. So I have configured it in such a way that every time we push some code to the develop branch, we are starting the GitHub action. So the simple code structure is we will start with the on command, and in that we will give the push thing. So here you can see that I have added push as a trigger. We can also add pull request, we can add closed, we can add issue solve. So there are many things that we can add, and for this, for now, we have added push. And I have selected the branch. So here the branch that I have selected is develop, right? So this is a simple step to tell the action when to trigger the action. Okay. So now we need to define the OS that will build the action and set up the environment of Flutter. In this, we will be using predefined actions such as checkout v1, setup Java v1, and Flutter action v1 to set up Java and Flutter. So these are predefined. So it is written by developers which we can easily import in our application and do the process easily. So checkout will take all your code and add it to the instance of the machine. In our case, it will be Ubuntu, and then we'll do the setup of Java. So in this, what we'll do is we will set up the version of Java that we'll be using for our development, and then Flutter action will set up the Flutter version. So every time we run a new release, or every time we run a new action, it will create a fresh instance of the machine, and it will again re-download and reinitiate the Flutter and the Java. So what we have done for that, we are running jobs. So we have to write job, and there we will write build. So we have to give a name to the build. For this, we have given build and release. We will set which version of operating system we will run on this. So for this, we'll be running it on a Ubuntu latest version. Okay. So now the first step is to check out the code into the machine. So for that, we'll be using action slash checkout v1. Then we will set up the Java where we'll have to give a with property with which we will set up the Java version. So here I have written 12.x. It means that from the version will be 12, but the subversion can be anything that is the latest one. Otherwise, if it is necessary, you can also specify the particular version that you want to add, right? So then we'll be using Subosito Flutter action, which will add the Flutter version to the instance of the machine. Here we have selected Flutter version as 2.10.4. Okay, we are done with our setup. Okay, so the next process is to write the commands that will actually build our application. So for that, we'll be using we will write simple functions. So we'll say run flutter pubget. It will get all the dependencies. Then we will analyze the project. Then we will run Flutter test to test all the test cases that we have added. Then it will simply do a Flutter build APK. It will build the APK file for Android. Okay, so half of our stuff is done. Okay, so now the step 4 is to we'll set up the action that will upload and generate the build to GitHub release. So for this, we are also uploading to the GitHub release as well as we are uploading it to the Firebase. So for this, we'll be using NC Polo release action where we will tell the tell the GitHub action which files to upload. Here, if you see, I have written artifact and then I have given the build folder, and inside the release folder, build app output apk release, inside the folder, there will be multiple files. You upload all those things to the GitHub actions, right? So I have given a start. If I want to specify a single version, we will write the specific file name and it will upload accordingly. Now here I have to put a tag. So for every artifact that we'll upload, we have to give a specific tag to identify from the rest. So what we have done here is we have given v1.0 and then we are taking the run number and putting it to the end. So this will make the tag number a unique number, right? And we have to give a token for our Flutter, not for the Flutter, for the GitHub action, GitHub profile. So let's see how to do that. So now we will see how to set up Firebase and GitHub. All right, Firebase with GitHub. We need to set up the app ID and Firebase token in GitHub secret, as well as we have to get the token from our profile and then add it to the GitHub secrets. So first what we'll do is we will go to project settings and secret. Okay, so let's see. We'll go to the project folder that we have created in GitHub. We will go to settings, then we will go to secrets, and then we'll go to actions. Here you can see there is a way to add new repository secret. What you will be doing is you will creating a new repository secret. We will go to this project settings, and we have to take this app ID to upload it to the Firebase app distribution. Okay, so you can see you have to put the name. So for our convenience, what we did is we are using the token as a name parameters, then Firebase app ID and Firebase token. Okay, so we will set Firebase app ID. So here you can see that I have added Firebase app ID and the ID is this string. Similarly, we will be adding Firebase token. So now how to get a Firebase token? It's very simple. So what we have to do is we have to install Firebase CLI. In order to do that, you have to do npm Firebase npm install Firebase CLI. That will install the Firebase CLI, and then you have to just do Firebase login :CI. This will prompt you to add the account which you are using for the project, and then it will generate a secret token, and you can see that in the red area. So you'll get that from this red area. Okay, so now we have to add token. So how to get a token? So it is a what is a token for GitHub? It is a token that will help us to automate the process in the projects. So to do that, we have to go to our profile, we have to go to settings, and then we have to go to developer settings. Here you can see we have personal access token. We'll be using that. Here we will generate a new token, and then we have to select all the things that is required. So here you write a name accordingly, and then you have to select what are the access that it will have. So for us, we just have to give access to workflow and repository, right? So we will give that, and then we'll create the token, and then we'll add that string to our project. Yeah, so it's done. We have added the token. Now simply we have to write it down here. So let me close this Explorer and to show you this. So here we have to write secrets dot token because it is in the secret, so it will take automatically when it will run the workflow, right? So this will upload the files to the GitHub artifacts. Okay, so we have followed up with this, setting up the key in GitHub. We have followed this. Now we have to upload it to Firebase app distribution. So to do that, we are using this Firebase app distribution GitHub action. And with there, we have to add the app ID, which we have already added to the secrets and the token. And then we have to signify the group, the tester group that we want to add. This is not mandatory. This is optional. And what to add tester, what we can do is simply we can go to our project. We can go to app distribution. Then we have to go to tester and groups. Here, you can create a new group and then add any email that you want to send the application to. Okay, so we will add this in the group and then we have to select the file that will be uploading to the Firebase app distribution. So this is the application. So what you can do to make it easier, you first build the application locally, then you get the path that you have received and just copy and paste it here so that there is no error. And we are done with our first workflow. Okay, so now the only thing that is remaining is to create a develop branch and publish it. Once you publish it, it will start the workflow. Okay, so we come to the second part of our session where we will be creating the IPA and uploading it to GitHub. So this is very simple process. We have already done the most of the stuff in the first thing. So now what we'll do is we will just copy and paste the same thing and name it iOS.yaml. There is no changes as of now, and we will see what we'll be doing here. So the first change that we'll add is to change the operating system from Ubuntu to macOS. So as we know that IPA file can only be built inside a macOS, so we will only do that. So we will change the run on to macOS latest. Most of the things remains the same. Now we will build the IPA instead of building the APK. So to do that, what we have to do? So we will do the normal stuff, which is Flutter pubget, Flutter analyze, Flutter test. Now we will run the application. So we will run some commands to get all the pod data and then update it and then pod install. We'll do pod install. So here we are changing the folder to CD iOS. Then we are removing the pod log file. We are deintegrating the pod and then doing pod repo update. Simple stuff that we do in VS Code, and then we'll do pod install. Now, this is a tricky area. So you see what we are doing here. We are building the iOS. We are doing Flutter build iOS, no code signing, no code sign. Then we are navigating to the iOS iPhone OS folder inside build iOS, and then we are doing mkdir, which will create a new directory, which is payload. Then we are changing it to cd payload. So we are going inside the payload folder. Then we will get all these files. So we are exporting all the runner.app. Then we have to zip that into a app.ipa, and this will create the app.ipa file inside the payload folder. So let's see what it does. Here, if I can show you, if I go inside build, if I go inside iOS, we go inside iOS, iPhone OS, and you can see I have a payload folder which contains all these things: app icon, framework, brace, iproj, and then I have a app.ipa. This is the main thing that we'll be uploading into GitHub Action or the GitHub artifact release. And then we will simply push to release. We are doing the same release action where we will be uploading it to the GitHub artifacts. So this is the artifact, and then we are tagging it using iOS dot. So we have changed the name slightly. Instead of giving it v10 and the same name, we have just added iOS at the front and then give a dot. And then we have the same token. Simple stuff, no changes, main changes, only small part here. Yeah. And then code. Yeah. And the only thing that is remaining is to commit the code and push it to the GitHub. Yeah. So once we do that, what it will do is it will start the project GitHub action. And here you can see we will get two workflows: build and release for Android, build and release for iOS. Let me just zoom that. Yeah, build and release for Android and build and release for iOS. Then if we go to build and release for Android, you can see all the things that we have done will be here. So we have done the setup. Then we are getting the code into our Firebase distribution. So this is just setting up the Firebase distribution in the container. Then we are doing a checkup. We are getting all the data and simply following the stuff. Here we are doing pub get, pub analyze, Flutter test, and Flutter build. Once it is complete, we push to release. We upload it to the app distribution and the GitHub release section, and then we are cleaning up the instance. Similarly, for iOS, we are uploading it to GitHub. We are running all these pod commands, and then we are uploading it to the Flutter, GitHub release. So let's see how it is uploaded. If we go to release, we can see that here we have version 1.8, and here you can see we have the app release APK, output meta, source code, and these zip tar zip. Similarly, for iOS, we simply have the asset, which is app.ipa source code and the source code tar zip, and we are done. So this is the way to do a non-code signing process. But if you want to create the build using signing, like you want to sign in, then you can go through this URL, and this will show you how to sign in the code, and then you can upload it to GitHub action, GitHub release. Yeah, and with that we conclude. Thank you for joining. So you can follow me in LinkedIn. You can connect with me in LinkedIn, and yeah, for follow questions.
Hi again, Tanmay.
Hello.
That was a wonderful and a very concise presentation, straight to the point, just how we like it.
Thank you.
Uh, while the presentation was going on, we were waiting for some questions from all of our viewers, but we do not have any. So I think everybody has clearly followed what you have been trying to tell people here, and I think it's been extremely helpful. And I think it will be extremely helpful for people who are trying to get their apps pushed to various stores, and how they can automate this entire thing so that they can focus more on the building part of it.
Right.
Uh, well, I think one question just came in. Although I am not too sure about what this question is. So, Raju, if you could just type your question again. Okay, got it. So,
Okay.
Raju is trying to ask, if you choose Flutter build APK split per ABI, or I think API, what changes
Yes.
should be taken care of in the main.yml?
Yeah. So simply when we create a split AVI, it will create three files. So in order to upload it, we don't have to change anything. So that will create three files, and we are already uploading all the files that are inside the pub folder to the file GitHub action. So here we have new start. So it will upload all the versions for the ARM and for the x64 to the GitHub release. So from there you can download and run it on your device.
All right. I hope that answers your question, Raju. If you guys have any other questions that you would like to ask Tanmay, now is the time. You can post them here. I'm still waiting for some questions. If you have any, for that matter. All right. So we got Raju's question answered. So that's kudos for that. Great. Uh, well, okay. In that case, I think Tanmay, since we do not have any more questions, I think we'll conclude this live stream here. Thank you so much. Oh,
Thank
wait.
you.
Okay. Not yet. Not yet. Srijit wants to ask, will there be any downtime when 100% deployment is done?
There'll be any downtime when 100% deployment is done. So can you explain like what you mean by the
Yes.
downtime?
A little more context is required for the question. When you say downtime, what exactly do you mean? It's going to take him a minute to type his question, so we'll just wait around,
Yeah, sure.
get this answered before we wrap things up.
Anyways, when like whenever you are deploying it,
Mm-hmm.
old changes are replaced by new one.
And new changes, yeah.
So every time you create if you, every time you run the object, right, you run the GitHub action, so it creates a new instance. So whenever whole app gets deployed, yeah, so the whole app gets deployed, and every time you run the GitHub action, it creates a new instance of the GitHub or of the Ubuntu or the macOS that you are running. And in that case, if you're running concurrent build, it will wait for the one to complete and clean all the data, and then it will again start a new instance and do all the process. So there is no old data that is remaining in the instance whenever you run a next bit. So I think that will answer your question, Sajid.
Well, I hope that answers your question, Srijit. Uh, Great. All right. So I think it's time, Tanmay, we'll wrap up the live stream. Thank you so much for taking out
Sure.
the time and speaking to all of our viewers and taking a certain topic that could be of extreme help to all the
Yeah.
viewers who have been watching us. And obviously, a big thank you to all of our viewers who have been joined us, who have joined us on YouTube today. We will have more live streams such as this one coming up for you. So do remember to follow us on Twitter at the rate KikiAns and Instagram and LinkedIn and everywhere else, and you'll be posted with whatever new live streams we have uh, coming up. Thanks for the confidence, Raju. We really appreciate it, and we will be coming up with more topics, similar important discussions that we will have. Once again, Tanmay, thank you so much for joining me and joining
Thank
all of us. And you have a wonderful day ahead. And to all of our viewers, you guys have a wonderful evening ahead as well. And take care.
Yeah. Yeah.
See
You
you
too.
next time.
Thank